Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to PCM. This is Career Mode episode 31. We're at the Quebec Grand Prix, one of our last races of the year. It's into September, and this is a course I love. For one thing, this is it's the Richmond U.S. national course, and you often get that one, when playing national team for the U.S. And of course, that's been my regular so I've played it many times, especially with Pro Cyclist mode. It's a fun little course. Well, anyway, I tried to get some riders into the break, one at a time. Gave it about 4 attempts to get somebody into the break. Those 3 riders were off the front within the first kilometer, but they only had about a 30-second advantage, so it was definitely within reason that you might catch them. But no matter which rider that I was trying, no matter which rider from any other team that attempted, they were all pulled back until eventually, the moment I stopped trying, the gap went out. Now, the good news about not getting somebody into the break is the repeated attempts absolutely took its toll on those 3 riders. And with just 3 riders, and with just a 3-minute gap, it's quite clear that they will not win today. We do have some riders off the back, but I do think that was more crash related than anything. I would expect that they will come back, though at the moment they're not recovering that distance. We have 136k to go in this one. The undulation here, the up-down nature of it, the descent is not much to recover on. And the ascent, though not terribly long, it's a take some out of your legs type ascent. So it very much will impact the riders, and we will see not just punchiness, but the mountain rating being a factor in today. It's just long enough. It is quite technical. It is easy enough to open up gaps here. So that combination of mountain and hills will probably be a factor today, unless there's just not much tempo until the very end. But if that's the case, I will likely want to push hard because I've got a strong team today. Also, noteworthy as we go in here, we'll take a look at it after the race, but my team seems to be in unison with one another, and we went from 0 riders at 5-star to a single one, kind of breaking that mold and starting that path to 5 riders on the current team are now in that 5-star category, plus 1 on the upcoming team. So we're already looking at a half a dozen guys at that 5-star rating or better, easily getting the 3 we needed to likely qualify. But that likely qualify, that's a bar that's been raised, and it is not a bar that's as low as it was. So it is harder to get in than previous, and we'll see if it's enough. And we'll take a look at where we're at on that one post-race. But we are already starting to settle into a really high tempo here. Just, 85k to go still. The front 3, their gap getting a little smaller. Somebody trying to attack. It's way too early for that and way too high of a tempo, so really not going to be a threat. I mean, we are blinking red with a 77 type tempo. So we are seeing a few more guys on the attack, and we will potentially have to respond to that if there's not enough of a chase. We're seeing more guys trying to get into a break here with 76k. I think we may need to contribute a rider to this. Let's go ahead and get ourselves to where we're not blinking red, because we are seeing some splits. Okay, this is going to kind of recheck. I'm sure we'll be front group soon enough. But there are definitely riders off the back that are not coming back, and it's a hard day. Pithy should be one of the favorites. In fact, he is on the top 10 favorites list today, even though he is not one of my strongest. But it's that acceleration combined with his hills rating. But, if you look, we've got somebody even stronger with Arietta. He just doesn't have the sprint. But Pithy, -2, might actually still be a good option today. Frigo, we'll go ahead and start to sacrifice him. Coop can protect Gonzalez. taking Pithy off duties because he does have that acceleration. Could be a good piece for us if he can handle things. But Frigo contributing to the chase should help keep those guys from getting too far away. It's a 2-minute gap. And it's all split up there. If they all come together, you know, you're looking at 10 riders or something. That's going to give them some extra firepower. We definitely don't want them getting away. We're seeing yo-yoing in the group as you kind of hit the high end of that undulation. Pithy here struggling to stay in, even at an 83. Part of that coming down to Frigo working hard, but Bogley getting water one last time, and then I think we're going to have to put foot down. For one thing, that front group has now united. It's come together, and the gap is slowly coming down. We've brought back about 15 seconds so far. Frigo not getting support, though, at the moment. So that's the worrying thing about what we're doing currently, as we have this, you know, limited Peloton, but we're chasing a fairly sizable group. Now, Frigo definitely pulled some time back on that one. And it's down to a minute 13, making things much more favorable going forward. I'm going to back off a little bit with Frigo now that the gap is a little more in check, and hope that we're going to, yeah, there you go, flick that elbow and get some others to ride through. That'll allow him to recover slightly on the descent here and make that push last a little bit longer here. And again, we see that yo-yoing with just 32 riders now, but staying near the front keeps us in good position. But the gap already comes back out just a little bit. Now it's at a minute and a half. 42K. But it does show that we can pull things back fairly quickly, fairly easily, and riders are starting to get dropped on this ascent, which means they're losing firepower in that group. All right, Frigo, Gel, he doesn't have enough left in the tank to continue on much longer. Send him back to that 85 that he had. And check back in on the team. So we are done with water. That's one good sign. Pithy is a little far back for where I'd like him to be. Let's see if we can't get him to bring his way forward again. 38 chasing 8 now, and it's a minute 20, so it is still a gap that had opened up a little bit, but it's splitting up now. So 6 more riders getting dropped. That's going to take out the firepower of that group here quite a bit. Frigo starting to drop back, though, as he is out of energy. And we may have to start contributing more so here in the near future with this small chase group. 3 at the front. The other 5, they're falling off, so now it's 3 riders, really, that we need to worry about. But with 32, we're looking pretty good. Frigo, meanwhile, though. See you later, buddy. Out the back, he's done. Set him to auto. But look at that, just 32 here, and I've got 6 of them. I'd say you got the 32 here, plus 3 at the front. That gives you 35 contenders, but we've got 6 out of 35, so we're in really good shape right now with 21K to go. We are going to need to put somebody else on the front, though, and it looks like Bogley's our next guy for this, as we're seeing another attack. So yes, we very much need to get on with the program here. In fact, I think behind Bogley we need to kind of line ourselves up. We'll kind of just get on with things. No counting on the rest of these guys here. They're looking to attack. They're being aggressive. I can't count on other teams any longer. It's time to take control. So we have Arrieta, we have Bano and Gonzalez. And then we have the top sprinting of Pithy to put last, just in case he can hang on. He could out-sprint the others. And so you got Coop and Bogley at the front. Bogley, he's going to take over right now and pursue at a high tempo, but not crazy tempo. These guys chasing those 3 down, not wanting to let them go, or are they trying to themselves attack and join them? Either way, whatever it's doing is it's bringing us back towards that front group, starting to render them irrelevant. Pithy feeling the climbing, that's why he's secondary. We're kind of still riding for Arrieta, but if Pithy hangs on, then he's got the ability to win the sprint. If it becomes too hard, too much climbing involved, Arrieta is a great alternative as he can handle the climbing. Just one more comparison between them. Pithy's a 68.76 today, but he's got that 79 acceleration and a decent sprint speed. He's got good stamina resistance, if not for the race day condition anyway. But Arrieta, much weaker on the sprint and resistance stamina side, but he's got that 76.80. 11K to go. Okay, really time to speed up. Just 2 riders left off the front. We got a couple guys that are being lapped right here. I think these are the 2 that are off the front, Godou and Bagioli, which are among the favorites. They are both at the very, very top of that list of favorites in this race. Gonzalez needs to gel up as we are very much getting down to it. And with 9K to go, I would normally have Bogli hanging on a little bit longer without that red bar. Right, he's going to lose a couple kilometers an hour, but not seriously. But we're down to the end, so we'll just try to get him to break toe at the back end. Meanwhile, Pithy still has a decent chance of hanging on and being able to handle that final sprint. He's getting down there, but he's certainly not out yet. Okay, 1 of 2 is nearly brought back, but certainly not quite. 28 left in the Peloton, so the group is really getting small here as Coop, who's only got a 66 flat, is going flat out by his standards. But we've nearly brought back Godou. Coop is supposed to be sprinting right now, but he is slower than his teammates. Not sure what's going on with that. How he gets blocked by his own teammates when he is literally sprinting, but okay. Is his sprint that weak? 63? That a 73 flat? And Gonzalez is way back here, but Noah is up there. Swap these 2. Gel for Beno. 99, 4.5K. Really weird little sequence there. It actually brought some riders back in. 4K. So Beno starting to attack. Gel and Gel. Alright, right now we are putting in that soft attack. We've split the field. Now it's just 9 riders left. Beno is done. 2.2K. Still have Pithy as a strong possibility. We still want a soft attack here with Gonzalez, but yeah, we are decimating this field. We've got ourselves a top 10 already. Gonzalez, Arrieta, and Pithy. Keep an eye on these guys as here come the others. 1.3K, so Arrieta, go ahead and take over now. Oh, come on. We got blocked by Gonzalez on that. We're not going to take the win. Cosnefroy and Van Aert are going off to take that, but I think we've got ourselves a 3rd, 4th, maybe even a 5th place out of this one. It does appear that we are getting that separation. Even if Gonzalez doesn't block off Arrieta a little bit, Cosnefroy and Van Aert way too strong. But, I mean, come on. 3rd, 4th, 5th, and Beno grabbing 7th in between Van Wilder and Vlasov. I mean, fantastic. Fantastic result for our small team that's clearly not quite there yet. But the point is we're cracking the competitive stage where we can hack it. We can hang in there with the World Tour guys, where we were struggling to do so even just earlier this season. We were struggling to get top 10s. Suddenly we're finding ourselves in position to get top 5s, to get podiums. We're not quite winning yet, but we're not far off. So if we do make World Tour, I am not worried about our potential to compete. I think we'll compete just fine. We might not be competing for wins just yet, but we are awfully close. La Vuelta just ended, and Carlos Rodriguez comes out the winner. Vingegaard was in 2nd until the final mountain stage where he slipped off the podium down to 4th. Ayuso and Landa, Spanish trio, on the podium. Meanwhile, on the other 2 Grand Tours, Carapaz, Hindley, Limousin, Wanty Gobert. Ahead of Pogacar. Pogacar was there. Roglic was there. Bernal, Yates. Wow. Interesting. But of course, we've seen in this game, We've seen in this game on countless occasions breakaway riders. Breakaway riders claim top 10 positions because this game has, well, real life has it too, but not to the extent that the game has it. Real life, you will actually, I'll throw my hands up in the air and totally take this statement back. Real life really saw this year. This year, Tour de France, you regularly saw breakaway riders who were well down. They were in the teens in the standings. They were well outside of the top 10. Go into breakaways that had huge advantages and either hung on to claim, the first 4 or 5 positions in the standings before the GC riders would then come in, split up, coming in one by one. Somebody wins the stage. Guy who ends up finishing second on the stage climbs from 16th in the standings to second, third place. So we did see it. We did see it in real life this year. But generally, what would then turn around and happen is that rider from now second or third place has to then ride with the GC contenders the next day, and they go out on a hard climb. And of course, they were just in the break all day the day before, and they go and lose 6 minutes. Even though on a normal day, they could hang in there with those guys fairly well. Guillaume Martin, great example of somebody who did this a bit, yo-yoed down the standings and then back up the standings and then down the standings and then back up the standings. On a normal given day, they might lose a minute. They might lose a minute and a half on those guys. They can hang with them. They're good climbers, solid climbers, but not quite elite. And they lose a little bit of time. But because of the big breakaway the day before, the big effort the day before, they lose significantly more time on that following day having to compete with those guys, especially when those elite climbers go flat out on some big climb later on, and they lose big chunks of time and they drop right back down. And, the next day they're in 6th, and then the day following, still not quite recovered, they're in 9th. Day following, they're out of the top 10 again, and then they're heading back to the breakaway. This, probably that. But the difference that we see in the game that I've noticed is the same thing happens. Somebody in the break who was in the teens that was 6 minutes down, and then all of a sudden they gain 5 minutes that next day and they find themselves in a podium position. They seem to hang on a lot better when they want to, even on that next day, and they don't fall off in the same manner that we saw in real life this year, where it was just, it's too hard, it's too much, and they fall off. But, for all we know, they're a solid rider. 5.5-star mountain guy, 24 years old, 77 mountain though. We're not looking at somebody elite who shouldn't have been up there. So very, very well could have been exactly what I was talking about for this rider. Somebody who not quite there, but hung on. Plus 5 days stay conditions, probably was that breakaway type rider. In the Giro, it was Mas, Hagita, and Uman, your top 3. And outside of that one name we just noted, the same can really be said of all 3 of those. That would be, all 4 fairly expected outcomes. Carlos Rodriguez winning versus Carlos Rodriguez being a top 10. Well, that's a different matter. But we're talking about a 23-year-old in game who in real life, not far from that. This is our 3rd year. He's 21 real life. 79 mountain here, probably growing, progressing. I'd say in real life, he's probably a 76, 77. Carlos Rodriguez was somebody I had on my team in last year's career mode. I think might have been the year before, but in game he's a level or 2 away from max. He's getting there, and maybe this is the one Grand Tour that he's going to win. But in game, that was his first Grand Tour, and he comes away world ranking is 2nd after that. But what we are here for is our ranking amongst the other teams. Now remember, it is absurdly close. From EF Education in 7th, you're looking at 4.1 out of 5 stars. Crazy tight. Because you're looking at 4 solid down to us. Now, we weren't 4 solid, but now that we have 5 and a 6th rider, we'll take a look at who those guys are in just a moment. that have reached that 5-star status. Apparently 5-star equals 4 stars here, because that's where we're at. UNOX was behind us. They've actually moved ahead of us. So we were on the bubble in 18th. UNOX had somebody level up first. And it was somebody level up. It wasn't a signing. Here's the status on the signings. All of the 5-star and better riders are gone. They've all been signed. UNOX didn't pick any of those guys up. But they had somebody level up. It pushed them ahead of us. They jumped to 16th. We fell to 19th. We were off the bubble for about 4 days. And then we had that next guy level up and raised our profile just a little bit, and we went from 19th to 17th, where we now stand. So we have bumped ourselves up over AG2R and Israel Premier Tech, who have essentially identical ratings. And then Minsk is at, like 0.9. Arceus Amsic is still at about a 0.8. Everybody else, I think, is probably too far back now. I think what we're looking at now that all the big signings are done, all the 5-star and betters are gone, there's only 10 4.5 stars remaining out there. So the chance of raising your profile enough out of those signings is pretty much non-existent. So it's all going to come down to riders leveling up within your team, because we still have 1 month to go before this is locked in. But over the next month, without the signings changing anything, it's going to depend on riders leveling up. The thing is, we have the youngest team. I also probably have the most to gain potential versus current ability wise out of the riders, out of all the teams, because of how we play this, how we approach this, how we take it on. We go out and we hunt and hunt and hunt for the best potential and get it. We don't get all of them, but we definitely have the biggest share of young riders with potential, which is why we have the youngest average age of any, Continental Pro and above team. That combination means if anybody's likely to go up based on still leveling up between now and, a month from now, it's us. And what we're seeing plays into that quite a bit. And what I mean by what we're seeing is this. What we're seeing is a team that is taken off. We had nothing at 5-star. And then Bogley made it one guy just over a month ago. We signed Lenny Martinez. That made it 2. Now all of a sudden we have 6. So we are rapidly seeing this young group. Again, nobody on the team is over the age of 25 except for Lacazette. There's hardly even a 24-year-old on the team, just a few of them. So we're very young, we have plenty of levels, and that means that combined with the potential that they have is seeing this rapid progression. Anyway, long story short, I want to say that especially with one more spot above the bubble, it's going to take 2 teams just below us having guys level up to bump ahead of us. And if anything, I'm more likely to see another rider, like say Bonneau or Coop, level up and join the top 3 and raise that bar a little further. So I think we are more likely to go up or stay put than we are to go down. We're probably going to be making World Tour, but we still have a month. The month has passed and the transfer market has just closed. We're in 17th, so we are going to the World Tour. But here are the big moves in the transfer market this year. Carapaz going to Astana. Van Aert going to UAE. Vingegaard going to Ineos. Van der Poel going to Jumbo-Visma. McNulty to Trinity. Lopez to Education First, Easy Post. Almeida to Astana. Yates to Minsk, which I think is outside. So Simon Yates is going to a Continental Pro team. Philipsen to Quickstep, and Martinez to Jupiler, which is also going to be a Continental Pro team. So the 2 teams that are getting bumped out of the World Tour are Arceus Samsic and Total Energies. With the signing of Simon Yates, Trinity goes from Continental up to Continental Pro. The two teams making World Tour that were not there previously, ourselves and UNO-X. Final standings in the World Tour: Roglic, Pogačar, Vlasov, Van Aert, and Rodriguez are your top 5. Carapaz right behind that. Continental rankings: Abner Gonzalez ends up in 3rd place. Now, the Continental races were almost entirely quick-simmed for us, so any results we got here were pretty much coincidental. In the Super Prestige, it was Roglic just ahead of Van Aert, both just above 3,000 points. Rodriguez, Pogačar, Bernal not too far behind. Vlasov, Carapaz, Moss all just behind that. Johannesson really strong for the UNO-X rider. He is the team leader for them and will remain that in the coming season. Gonzalez was 20th, and definitely our highest scorer. Vandenberg did pretty well in 51st, and a lot of what Vandenberg did, actually Gonzalez for that matter as well, but Vandenberg in particular, most of the points that he scored was through quick sim. We did not control him very often this year. Our highest scorer of victories wasn't even on our senior squad. 4 wins for Arnaud Tendon of our U23 squad. Pithy, Vandenberg, Gonzalez all with a few wins apiece. Finally, as a team, we were the highest scoring Continental Pro team by some margin, 11th. We almost cracked the top 10 in the World Tour races with very limited participation in those. So we were definitely the strongest in comparison, but still some ways off of the best teams. And in the Continental rankings, again, it was those World Tour races that I was participating in directly for the most part, even though they were limited this season. And we made our way through this season very quick. I don't know exactly how many episodes it was, but it was definitely a quick season. Now that we are heading to the World Tour next season, there's going to be a lot more races and should be almost exclusively World Tour coverage in the coming season. But unlike this season where everything but Tour of Guangxi was something that I put onto the channel with a full slate of World Tour races, we'll be picking and choosing and bypassing quite a few. Next season is to an extent going to be about survival and establishing our position in the World Tour, which of course I don't think is going to be too much of a problem. Yes, we do have a number of expiring contracts. We have a number of riders that are going to be going out in the coming season, and we're only going to be retaining some of those. But even without that group, that next group, quite a few of those guys are already hitting 5 stars as well. So at least I think. So we should still be comfortable with that group. And then, re-sign 1 to 2 guys from the group that's expiring and bring in some new high potential guys. Otherwise, I think our ability to maintain World Tour should be good and hopefully will not be a yo-yo group. But anyway, we were 3rd in Continental despite simming virtually all of those races, and we were 1,000 points ahead of B&B and just marginally behind Vlaanderen and Israel Premier Tech. This is where we really shined, though, in the overall sense. In the Super Prestige, all things combined, we were 7th best, quite a bit ahead of those other 2, and, well, really all of those Continental Pro teams, and ahead of most of the World Tour. Majority, more than half. Not to 5,000, and there's a pretty big gap ahead of us. Movistar, we were just a few points ahead of them, but then there's another big gap from them down to DSM. So we were very much in, I'd say, your middle tier. Your top 2 teams, well clear. Jumbo-Visma, Ineos, huge advantage. UAE, Bora Hansgrohe, 3rd, 4th, 2nd tier. But I'd say the 3rd tier is Quick-Step through Movistar, before you then get down to kind of that 4th tier, which includes a couple Continental Pros with a bunch of World Tour teams. So that was a fantastic place to be in. Now we're going to be exclusive World Tour. We're not going to get the bonus of dominating Continental Pro in the coming season. So how does that translate? Does our score go up or down this next year? I'm going to guess we're still going to manage to go up. I don't know how great our performance is, but we saw down the stretch, down the season, we started pulling some podiums, started pulling some top fives. I don't know how many wins we're going to be getting next year, but it's going to be at a World Tour level, which provides larger points hauls. We will get some results. We will succeed, and I think we should be cracking the top 5 this next season. We're not yet ready to compete with Jumbo-Visma and Ineos, but who is? In real life and in game, right? That is going to do it for this episode and this season, though. Our grand total on wins ended up being 21. So it was diverse on who picked up those wins, but it was a good haul. It was a good year. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.